This is Bill Graham, and this is my Week 6 assignment in the Coursera Blended Learning course, Transition to Blended Learning. For this assignment, I'm using an alternative approach as was offered in the assignment of using a hypothetical situation, although I do hope this may result eventually in helping some schools or teachers successfully transition in their particular environments. The structure is as follows. I'll be reiterating the goal, giving the background of what the environment currently is like, going into the solution and why, the implementation process, the expected results, and then a special implication. Okay, the goal is quite simple. We simply want to dramatically improve the education results, both academically and non-cognitively, in the school district that has a high percentage of disadvantaged students while simultaneously turning students into independent learners. A very key thing here is that the goal is not to implement blended learning. The goal is to improve education. Into background, our students come from a very diverse background, high percentage of disadvantaged. The academic and social preparation varies very, very widely by as much as 3 to 4 years, from barely knowing any language to already being able to read and do basic arithmetic operations. Close to half of the fourth graders are 1 or more years behind grade level. 30 to 40% of the students drop out before graduating high school. And when we look at the reasons, we see that a lot of it is behavioral: substance abuse, pregnancy, gang criminal activity, peer pressure, need to work or desire to work. But a lot of it is also based on hopelessness. A lot of that behavior is a result of hopelessness with regards to being able to succeed in school. Many of these students have never experienced success in the academic environment and have been way behind grade level since they began school. A lot of studies have shown that there's a heavy or very high correlation between the family background and community background of students and their success or failure in school. Whether this is their starting school so many years behind in language and vocabulary, home environments not conducive to learning, greater failure to do homework, increased school absences, general reduced effort, and reduced attention in class. These all lead to poor achievement, which lead to hopelessness, susceptibility to negative influences, and eventually dropouts. We believe that high-achieving students do not drop out or get into trouble as often as those who have continually failed and really don't believe they can succeed. So that really ends up being our goal, is to get all students to that high achievement level. The results are the demands on our solution, and we need a learning process that's going to result in true mastery of every concept, rule, and method. Without mastery, you have no education. We need a solution that will mitigate many of the negative family and community influences, large gaps in language and numeric skills, the lack of respect by family, community, and peers, general reduced effort, not doing homework, not coming to school on a regular basis, the effects of disruptive students on their classmates, and just the wide diversity of current abilities and motivation, which make group education essentially impossible. We need to make sure that teachers know where they need to apply themselves, and they have to be able to do this very, very quickly while students are still involved with whatever their problems are, and before they get so much frustration that they basically tune out and are no longer receptive to attempts to help. We've got to be able to provide, or the solution has to provide students with the self-confidence and a can-do attitude and help them develop a generally positive attitude towards learning in general. And all of this is really trying to get students to become independent learners. That's the ultimate goal, that by the time they leave school, or even by the time they leave the initial grades here, that they are becoming more and more independent learners year by year. And a big chunk of this we want to happen in our first year. Okay, the solution, based on the above goal and the current conditions, we decided our solution would consist of mostly a flex model, where we're doing individualized, mastery-based learning. Everybody's learning at their own pace, and with atomic learning units, typically 30 to 60 minutes each. We needed a solution that where the assessment was internal to the learning units. Actually, with mastery-based, this is the only possibility. You can't move on to the next learning unit until you've mastered the current one, and so you really need to be assessing mastery every 30 to 60 minutes. We need a solution that enables students to manage as much of their learning as they're ready for. They don't get to select what they're going to study, at least not in the early grades, and they're not going to be able to determine what determines mastery. But they are able to decide when they study what, and whether they put a couple of more hours into subject A or subject B, and perhaps even which learning aids they lean on the most. The solution has to provide an early warning system so that teachers can intervene on a management by exception basis in a timely manner, so we can really maximize the utilization of the rarest resource that we have, the most valuable resource, and that's the teacher's time. We decided to start with a single subject in a single grade, in this case fourth grade math, so that we could prove the concept that this works, and then we would expand it onto other grades and subjects. Because we're starting at the fourth grade, we realize that there's a lot of holes in the K through 3 content. Therefore, all students will have to master all K through 4 content by the end of the fourth grade. In subsequent years, we'll add additional grade levels so that every student will be able to continue using the blended model throughout their entire school career if they started with this in the fourth grade. Older students may or may not be able to transition from the one learning method over to the other. The only ones where we're looking at this as being key are those that began in grade 4 with this program. We also look to add additional subjects, one, maybe 2 a year, starting with reading and writing in each subsequent year. And at some point, we'll look into rolling it back down to third and eventually first and second grades, although we realize that there's a big difference between 3 through 12 and the first and second grades that may not make that easy. And also the need to add more project-based tasks once the foundation skills and knowledge have been mastered. Okay, why did we pick the flex model? First of all, it mitigates most of the problems related to early childhood learning deficiencies or a home environment non-conducive to learning, where no homework takes place, where there's no encouragement for learning, where there's erratic attendance, lack of attention in school. It makes no difference. Every student picks up where they left off on each time they start to learn. Ensures mastery for when a student leaves school for those subjects and those learning units that they mastered. It ensures teachers are spending most of the time with students that need help the most. It's the best model for a highly diverse student body where the skill and knowledge levels are so diverse that they really can't do much as a group. And student effort is not public, so that students don't have to fear those elements that target the strivers that are trying to succeed in the current society. Why do we start with fourth graders? First of all, the learning gap isn't as great as it would be for older students. If you imagine a 7th or 8th grade student that has 3 or 4 more years of gap, and also the attitude problems of an additional 3 or 4 years of constantly being beat on and reminded how dumb they are. Also, the learning gap that is there is based on simpler concepts that more people can help with and are quicker to learn. We don't have to deal with students having outside jobs or being involved as caregivers for other members of the family. They're not yet recruitment targets of gang and other criminal elements. They generally still have respect for school and teachers, and maybe most importantly, they're not yet distracted by puberty. Why math? We wanted to start with fundamentals, and also there's more whole course software available currently for math good software than for many other subjects. Okay, when we look at the hardware infrastructure for implementation, the main thing we want to do is for this first year, we want to focus on the learning elements. So we don't want to get involved in any integration issues or dealing with any kinds of problems related to the technology. So we're not going to make any kinds of attempts to integrate anything based on the new learning. We'll look to have a third party provide the hardware, the internet access, administering the devices, and anything else to do with administration. If the school had one-to-one computing devices, or computing device for every student, and the school's broadband internet had been adequate, we would have happily used that, but that is not the case. As I said, we want to be able to focus and concentrate fully on the learning process during this initial year. If we had a situation where we don't have any internet connectivity of any kind that would be adequate, what we would have done is had the third party provide software via local area network by bringing a couple of servers into the building and just running a Wi-Fi network literally just within the school. Okay, the learning software is very key. We decided on a whole course software package that included software guiding the student from one learning unit to the next through the entire learning process, or at least the default standard process. Learn Unit 1, prove mastery, go on to Unit 2, prove mastery, go on to Unit 3, prove mastery, and so forth. Each learning unit, keep in mind that we're talking fourth graders here, so we're not talking about the need to really get into deep aspects of the theory behind the raw skills. Each learning unit would consist of the standards, a clear objective, the content, learning aids, step-by-step walkthroughs, practice and assessment exercises with immediate feedback and hints and so forth. The detailed progress tracking and reporting system so the teachers know where help is needed immediately, and also that would help the teacher know when to intervene and when to give the student some more time to try to figure it out on their own, as well as to help the teacher work out an effective strategy before approaching the student, because they get so much detail about what the student has already tried. This is the key thing here. This approach changed almost everything our teachers did on a daily basis. We therefore elected to have a consulting group that's experienced in using the software work with our teachers. Basically, they would initially run the class, and our teachers would observe, and then our teachers would take over, and they would observe and help our teachers until our teachers were fully competent and comfortable with the new process. This is estimated to take only a couple of weeks to maybe a month until our teachers felt fully comfortable. This also would include helping our teachers realize that they're no longer responsible for the main curriculum and content, although they are definitely able to select supplemental content for interventions. It's helping our teachers realize that they now work with students primarily on a management by exception basis, as opposed to group daily sessions. They help our teachers learn to discern which students needed their attention the most from reports and other tools. And very importantly, change the teaching style from direct teaching, where the teachers told the students where they made their mistakes and how things worked, to an indirect teaching style where they help the students find their own mistakes and help them to figure out for themselves how things should work, moving towards that whole concept of independent learning. Okay, after 1 year, we're expecting students are going to have 100% mastered the requirements for fifth grade before moving on to the fifth grade content. This is really a huge step up from the current situation, where many students come into fifth grade with very deficient knowledge and skills, and there really is no good mechanism to help them catch up on that as they go forward. We're hoping the confidence of having a year's worth of more than 100. Congratulations, you've mastered this step. Congratulations, you mastered that step. All those affirmations of their mastery is going to help them be more successful in later grades. The improved self-esteem and confidence, we're hoping, will give them some protection against undesired student behaviors such as substance abuse, gang involvement, teen pregnancies, etc. We expect our teachers to have much more time to work with the students that need the teachers' help the most. And we hope our teachers will feel much more as professionals, because they're not spending so much time at copy machines or preparing and delivering lectures or grading quizzes or doing other kinds of clerical work, but rather really applying their teaching skills directly with students. And above all, we hope our teachers will feel much prouder, since they'll be seeing close to 100% success with their students, and they can point to many of their interventions as what made the difference for many students. After 10 years, we're expecting to see almost 100% of the students leaving school, graduating with 100% mastery of all content, in other words, fully prepared for further education or work. Dropouts, almost zero. The students leaving school with higher confidence and can-do attitude, the ability to deal with any situation they're presented with. We expect to have seen a dramatic drop in undesired student behaviors that we talked about before, that teachers will become expert in identifying where to best use their time and how to intervene most effectively in all kinds of situations. And the teachers being far happier and less stressed because they're able to focus more on helping students without having to perform so many bureaucratic duties. And also being able to better able to balance family and profession, because there's far fewer crisis situations, and their free time is their time, because they don't have to be doing so many preparations for class every day. And finally, giving them that renewed sense of pride and standing in the community, again, due to having a success rate of students of almost 100%, as opposed to today, where everybody looks at teachers and more or less says, oh, they're the ones to blame for the poor performance of our education system. Okay, there are some special implications of this because students are starting at very different places and they're working at their own pace. Some students are not going to master the entire K through 4 content by the end of fourth grade. In this case here, we don't want to just say, okay, you got 80% good enough, go on to the fifth grade and leave them with all that gap. The idea is they would go on to the fifth grade, but they would actually just continue with their fourth grade work and they wouldn't move on to fifth grade content until they mastered that K through 4 content. Although no other student would need to know that unless they tell them themselves. Because students are working at their own pace and they're making decisions on when they do what, there's a lot of opportunities here for them to work on evenings, weekends, summer sessions, vacations, either for catch-up or because they want to jump ahead and go on to advanced topics, and that's absolutely great. I expect here, as the confidence grows and the success grows, the number of students that are behind grade level will pretty much almost disappear. Well, I hope you found some of the ideas in this presentation useful, and I thank you for your attention.